welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Israeli occupation forces killed at least 275 people in new airstrikes against Southern Lebanon. Local media reported that occupation troops carried out this Monday new air raids against several Hezbollah resistance military centers as part of the escalation of hostilities. This is one of the most intense air raids in almost a year against the Lebanese resistance movement, which have also left more than 1,025 wounded. However, Israeli leaders promise harsher actions in the coming days. The Lebanese Ministry of Health warned that the death toll and wounded are mostly women and children, and also affirmed that at least 300 targets, including civilian areas, have been bombed. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that Lebanon could become another Gaza in the midst of escalating Israeli attacks against the Hezbollah resistance movement. Guterres referred to the recent detonation of communication devices in Lebanon and considered that such action shows that there is a potential for a much stronger escalation, which he fears could be a devastating tragedy for the world. The Israeli army and Hezbollah have been exchanging fire across their border since October 8th last year, raising fears that the clashes could escalate into a full-scale war. Meanwhile, the Lebanese Information Minister Ziad Makari denounced on Monday the Israeli genocidal war on his country.
The continuing Israeli aggression on Lebanon is a war of extermination in every sense of the word, and a destructive plan aimed at destroying Lebanese villages and towns and eliminating green areas.
On Monday, Israeli occupation forces spokesperson Daniel Hagari assured to go on the Israeli offensive at the Bekaa Valley, regardless what this might take the lives of innocent civilians.
Today, for the first time in this manner, we have warned the residents of Lebanon. And I am warning now the residents of the Bekaa Valley, ahead of a targeted and large-scale strike that we will carry out in the Bekaa Valley. Our mission is to return the residents of the north to their homes in safety, and we will do whatever is necessary to achieve this.
Palestinian authorities announced the detention of over 10,000 civilians in the occupied West Bank by the Israeli occupying forces since October 2023. Several organizations defending the rights of Palestinian prisoners claimed that Tel Aviv troops have been conducting constant detention operations in various governorates of the occupied West Bank. An information backed by Palestinian authorities that further assured the Zionist regime commits abuses, aggressions, and threats against the detainees and their families, in addition to vandalism and destruction of citizens' homes. According to data from these entities, the Israeli genocidal forces have arrested over 10,800 people since October 7, 2023. During the United Nations Summit of the Future, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil, on behalf of the group of friends in defense of the United Nations Charter, reiterated the importance of respecting people's right to self-determination and called once again for a ceasefire in Gaza, the end of the Israeli occupation in the territory, and the recognition of Palestine as a member state.
We reiterate our appeal for a ceasefire in Gaza, as well as for justice and the end to the illegal Israeli occupation, and our appeal for the Security Council to fully shoulder its responsibilities, including by favourably reconsidering the application of Palestine for fully fledged membership of the United Nations. Remaining silent is not an option, as this will only embolden the occupying power as it continues to commit grave violations of international law and complete impunity.
For his part, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for a future of peace and tranquility during his speech at the United Nations Summit of the Future.
China proposes that we need to build a future of peace and tranquility. In this changing and turbulent world, new risks and challenges keep cropping up. No country can stay unaffected. Greater solidarity and cooperation of the international community is not a choice but a must. Major countries in particular should lead by example. They should break geopolitical circles by pursuing the greater good, rise above bloc confrontation, and serve as propellers for world solidarity and anchors for international peace.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Monday, the government of Colombia requested a security summit with Venezuela and Mexico to debate on the risk posed by the Israeli software Pegasus and the scope of espionage. This way, Colombian Senator Antonio Correa reported that the Pegasus spy software purchased for $11 million by the government of Iván Duque from Israel aims at destabilizing progressive governments such as Venezuela and Mexico. Pegasus, developed by the Israeli corporation NSO Group, has become a high-level espionage tool capable of infiltrating mobile devices in an almost imperceptible way. President Gustavo Petro described the acquisition of the spy software as a serious violation of the privacy of citizens, so an investigation was initiated to determine whether crimes were committed in this alleged espionage operation or not.
Y hoy yo creo que aquí debe existir.
I believe that information must be urgently shared among brotherly countries so that we can determine who was the person or entity that took the $11 million in financial transactions and cash to Israel. Because this issue cannot be forgotten, and it cannot be said that because we did not find legal traces, then there was no spyware.
Furthermore, Senator Correa indicated that Colombia will provide all the warranties that exist before the investigation that will be carried out on the Israeli software Pegasus.
The Colombian Congress has the responsibility, and so everything that is within the constitutional and legal framework we will do, and we will be working on that, because it is our president, it is our democracy, and it is the stability of a people like the Colombian people, who decided and is accompanying the government of President Petro. And so we have the responsibility that all the guarantees exist, that all the investigations happen, and that there are no forbidden topics in our democracy.
The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce, called on former President Evo Morales to leave aside the conditions and accept the call for a dialogue presented by the Ombudsman Office. By means of a televised message, together with Vice President David Choquehuanca, President Arce said that he does not plan to resign and condemned the actions of ex-President Morales. Furthermore, Arce urged him to respect the social pact materialized in the political constitution promulgated in 2019, which establishes a single continued postulation. The head of state indicated that Morales' refusal to dialogue only shows his electoral political obsession. The Ecuadorian government announced a week of power outages from Monday to Sunday in several time slots, despite the initial plan of an 8-hour blackout for 4 days a week. On a press release, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Antonio Gonçalves, expressed that it is necessary to redistribute power outages planned for the next couple of days. The Ecuadorian population mainly posted on social media to criticize the government's decision to warn at night of the changes in the outage program. The country has been facing blackouts since the end of 2023 due to the lack of maintenance to the networks, to the failure to comply with plans to increase electricity generation, as well as corruption problems and serious drought affecting hydroelectric plants. We have a second show break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final show break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Brazilian government deployed its armed forces in the Amazon region of the country to fight off climate terrorism. The Ministry of Defense ordered the commanders of the National Army, Navy and aeronautics to ensure the efforts to count on the troops in the region. The military will provide support through the supply of teledetection images, the use of the fire panel with a specialized personnel and the training of the authorities involved in combating the fires. The National Executive further requested the military entity to quantify the necessary resources to plan and execute actions in the field and to designate a series of officers to form a joint command. In this context, in Argentina, after the fires that have destroyed more than 40,000 hectares in the province of Córdoba, social movements requested the national government to declare the country in a state of emergency. To date, more than 20 houses have been burned and dozens of people have been evacuated due to the blazes that have spread to other localities such as Ascochinga, La Granja and San Marcos Sierras. Precisely in the latter, the fire, which began in August and has had large outbreaks, devastated part of the diversity of the region's native forest and burned some 12,000 hectares. Meanwhile, in Bolivia, firefighting operations continue with 2 heavy aircraft and 3 armed forces helicopters in the affected regions. The Bolivian Air Force reported that they currently have 3 heavy aircraft with a total discharge capacity of 30,000 liters per mission as part of the new phase of the Guardian Air Mitigation Plan. Operations concentrated on Sunday in the Monteverde area as a prioritized region to safeguard the population. In Colombia, the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management indicated that the maximum alert continues at national level due to at least 14 active forest fires and more than 10,000 hectares affected. To date, authorities indicated that the department of Tolima is the hardest hit area and emergency teams remain deployed to quell the fire. Russia ships largest volume of liquefied natural gas to China in a year, raising its crude oil supply by 25%. According to custom data from both nations, Russia supplied to China about 872,000 tons of liquefied natural gas in July, being the highest figure during the last 12 months. The information points out that Moscow surged its oil supply to China by over a quarter, reaching 2.21 million barrels per day. This increase occurs despite attempts of the Western countries to expel the Russian hydrocarbons from the global markets and damage its economy. Anura Kumara Dissanayake was sworn in as Sri Lanka's 9th consecutive president before the head of the Supreme Court, Jayantha Jayasuriya, supported by a crowd outside the venue of the event. As part of the ceremony, Dissanayake, also known as AKD, declared his commitment to the nation and the citizens of the South Asian island. The leader and candidate of the National People's Power was elected president of Sri Lanka after a second counting of votes in the elections held last Saturday with 38 aspirants to the highest office. Dissanayake obtained 42.31% of the ballots counted. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa 32.76% and former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was seeking re-election, came in third place with 17.27%.
We are inheriting a nation in a deep crisis. This crisis cannot be overcome by a government, a political party, or an individual alone. I am not a conjurer or a magician. I am a common citizen. I have strengths and limitations, things I know and things I don't. However, my priority is to identify capabilities, acquire the knowledge I lack, and make informed decisions to lead this country.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.